Death is the only certainty in life, yet paradoxically, we spend much of our time trying to ignore it. From our earliest years of awareness, we learn that everything that is born will one day cease to exist. Still, the thought of our own end remains unsettling. We avoid thinking about it, create rituals to cope with loss, and seek ways to prolong life at any cost. But why? If death is inevitable and our brain already knows this, why does the fear of it follow us throughout life? This fear can be explained in several ways. Science sees it as an evolutionary defense mechanism, essential for our survival. Some philosophical theories suggest it may be a flaw in the way our mind processes information, a consequence of our awareness of time and mortality. Other ideas go even further. What if we are living in a simulation, and this fear was programmed into us to keep us within it? On the other hand, religion has spent millennia trying to make sense of death, offering interpretations that range from a new beginning to a final judgment. What if the fear of death isn't just a natural instinct, but an artificial mechanism embedded in our existence? This is one of the ideas raised by simulation theory, which suggests that our entire reality might actually be a virtual environment created by an extremely advanced civilization. In this scenario, the fear of death could be a security code designed to prevent us from questioning the nature of our existence or attempting to escape it. Philosopher Nick Bostrom proposed that if a society were advanced enough, it could simulate entire universes, populating them with conscious beings who would have no way of realizing they are inside a simulation. Statistically, it would be more likely that we are living in one of these simulations than in an original reality. If that's the case, the fear of death might be an artificial constraint designed to maintain the stability of this system, ensuring that the characters within it don't challenge its rules or try to break free. This hypothesis might sound like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, but it raises intriguing questions. If we are inside a simulation, what really happens when we die? Do we simply shut down forever? Or are we rebooted into another context? And what if the fear of death is just a programmed limitation meant to keep us from discovering the truth? While this idea is fascinating, science also offers explanations for why we fear death. First and foremost, the fear of death is a deeply ingrained survival instinct rooted in human evolution. Our ancestors who were more afraid of dying were naturally more cautious, increasing their chances of survival and passing on their genes. This fear isn't exclusive to humans. Many animals also exhibit self-preservation behaviors, such as fleeing from predators or avoiding dangerous situations. Additionally, the human brain has a specific mechanism for processing the fear of death. The amygdala, a small structure responsible for detecting threats and triggering intense emotional responses. Interestingly, people who meditate can reduce amygdala activity, which is why meditation can help with anxiety, panic, and self-control, something we'll discuss in our next video. So, when we think about death, this part of the brain activates, generating anxiety, distress, and even panic. Biologically speaking, the brain isn't programmed to accept its own non-existence. Another scientific explanation comes from the terror management theory, which suggests that humans have developed psychological strategies to cope with the fear of death, such as holding on to beliefs, seeking purpose, and creating cultures that help minimize this existential anxiety. In other words, our awareness of death creates an internal conflict. We know we will die, but our minds do everything they can to avoid thinking about it directly. But while biology and psychology help explain this fear, religion also plays a key role in how we deal with death. In nearly every culture, there is a belief that life does not end completely with the physical body's death. Whether through the idea of paradise, reincarnation, or another form of existence, religions help transform the fear of death into a transition towards something greater. In Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, death is not seen as an absolute end, but as a moment of judgment. Depending on one's actions in life, the soul may be rewarded with an eternal positive or negative fate. This gives death a moral dimension. It's not just a biological event, but a consequence of how one has lived. Meanwhile, religions like Hinduism and Buddhism see death as part of a greater cycle, reincarnation. According to these beliefs, the soul is reborn in another body, repeating the process until reaching enlightenment and breaking free from the cycle of birth and death. The fear of death, then, is not just about the instinct for survival, but also about the uncertainty of what comes next. Here's a thought that intrigues me. If the brain knows that death is inevitable, why does it work so hard to keep us alive? If death were truly the absolute end, why does our own body fight against it so intensely? One possibility is that death, as we understand it, simply doesn't exist. We are made of energy, and physics already tells us that energy does not disappear. It only transforms. What if death is just a transition we have yet to comprehend? Maybe the fear we feel isn't of death itself, but of the unknown that follows. But what about you? What's your take on this? Is death truly the end, or just a passage to something greater? Drop a comment and share your thoughts.